Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Let's have some fun. Story inspired by Nixon. As she took the last of the heated rollers out, Kathy said, "Just a few more minutes and it will be finished, Sharon." After giving them some time to cool, she began the calm bout procedure. She quickly developed a complete style. Roger, Sharon's 24-year-old brother, appeared to be on the verge of tears as he looked at his feminized hair in the mirror. "There, what do you think, Sharon?" "It's darling, so chic and feminine, so bold, you are terrific. Funny, your big brother does not seem to appreciate it." He was still unable to accept what had happened. He was berating his sister for leaving the bathroom such a mess 20 minutes ago. When Kathy asked him to apologize, he was acting like the bully boy he always was. He had shouted, "Shut up!" Kathy went into the bathroom, plugged in the hot rollers, and waited without saying anything. They signaled that they were heated after a short while. She returned to the room and instructed Roger to make amends to them both right away, even though she was well aware he wouldn't. "You've got to be kidding me!" he exclaimed. "No, I'm not," she responded, before giving him a light slap in the face. "If you do that again, I will take you down." Smack! It was more difficult this time. Roger's moderate right hook to her abdomen was the finishing blow. She did not even blink, and he was astounded by the rock-hard muscle in her stomach. She merely grinned. Roger realized with horror that he had failed. A second punch from him had no effect. Kathy doubled him over with a punch of her own, taunting, "You call those punches child?" She then turned around and kneed him in knees, knocking him to the ground. She approached, seized hold of his hair, and pulled him to his feet. She then marched him to the bathroom while holding him in a hammerlock. He was forced to kneel in front of the counter as she styled his hair. To speed up the process, she applied a fine mist of setting lotion and used a blow-dryer. Roger had been thoroughly humiliated. In less than 20 minutes, a teen girl had forcibly feminized him in front of his own sister. Roger asked Sharon, "Now, these curls will only last until he washes his hair again. So, Roger, are you going to be a good girl and use these hot rollers every day, or am I going to have to come over and do it for you?" Roger remained silent. "Roger, I asked you a question," he spit out. "I'll do it." "I'll use the hot rollers every day," he replied when asked. "You'll do what, Roger girl?" "Like a good little lady," he murmured as tears streamed down his face. "That's better. Now, Roger, I want you to kiss the muscles that did this to you," teased Kathy as she shoved her 17 inches bicep in front of him. "I'm sorry I gave you a hard time about the bathroom, and I'm sorry for the way I acted." Kathy repeated this with the other arm. Roger responded by kissing the huge muscle. Kathy could feel the warm tears steaming down his face. Sharon's giggle had changed to laughter, and they both left the room. The specialized dress shop, one of a large chain owned by Carolyn, was where Sharon and Kathy were both now employed. A week earlier, Carolyn had paid Kathy to discipline her son, David. As a result, David unexpectedly found himself modeling a rather ladylike gown in front of the entire store. When David left, Carolyn hired Kathy. Sharon was very helpful to Kathy, but Sharon had a brother who had an attitude problem, so Kathy offered to change his mind about the proper way to treat a lady. Roger had just received his first and hopefully final lesson in respect when Sharon agreed, and Kathy warned Sharon after they had left the area, "Only make them useful for about a week. After that, the majority of guys will realize they can use this to their advantage, and you either won't get them back, or you'll get them back with all kinds of problems." Okay, I bet his attitude has changed. However, this loses its effect in a few days. It was only a few seconds ago that he was bawling like a baby. Mr. Tough Guy, a macho man, is being feminized and having his hair whooped. "Let's hope he learned his lesson. If not, we'll start at the top and work our way down, starting with the hair. We start going on public outings after we finish the pedicure. The majority of the time, it only takes 1 or 2 lessons to learn when to give up." Sharon questioned, "Have you made any plans for you two brothers? They seemed a little arrogant after they conned you." The two girls then began to plan, with one saying, "I do, in fact, but I'm going to need your help. Anything you want. After today, you're number 1 in my book." The following morning, Kathy had already begun her retaliation against her brother Ted. Sharon grinned evilly and said, "You know, it just might work. In fact, I bet we can get Carolyn to agree she has a score to settle with her son, and bet she can think of a way to get even." She had entered his room unnoticed during the night and bound his hands and feet to the mattress. He was furious when he came to realize his situation. When Kathy entered the space, she made a casual comment about making the rest of his hair match the new perm. Dave spoke without knowing what to say next. "Oh, come on, Kathy, you can't still be mad over that. Look, the only reason it worked is because you wanted to see us humiliated. Of course we took advantage of that, just as that guy Dave took advantage of his mother," she said, methodically applying a bright red polish to his toenails. "You cost me $100, so I'm going to get $100 of amusement out of you. Besides, you should feel lucky what your brother is going to get is going to be a hell of a lot worse." His feet jiggled. She then continued to treat his fingernails in the same manner. She casually feminized him and made a few comments about his status, which made Ted angrier. She then started styling his hair. The curling iron her mother had seemed to be the ideal solution. Ted's perm contributed to giving him the body for a soft, feminine look. She then put on his makeup. Ted was now blazing with rage. When she was done, she made him look in the mirror after laughing at his new appearance. He was then freed after she untied his hands. To read the newspaper, Kathy went to the living room. Ted was able to free himself from the ankle ties in just a few minutes, at which point he almost immediately stormed out of his room. Ted would have been better off if he had just picked himself up and moved on, but he did not. In a fury, he dashed into the living room. He yanked her by her blouse and threw her against the wall. He yelled angrily, "Look, you're gonna pay for this." She laughed. "I already did pay for it. Oh, Teddy girl, a woman is never scared of a weak boy who wears lipstick, especially when she's the one making him wear it." She mocked. "That's not what I mean. You gonna for what you did." His rage had grown out of control, and her patronizing calmness was making it worse. He yelled as he drew back his right hand, "This is what I mean!" He threw a punch and was horrified when Kathy raised her hand to block it just inches from Kathy's face. She then hit Ted with a knee, causing him to fall over. Then she locked both of his arms. Ted was pleading with her to release in a matter of seconds. She kept pushing upward for almost another minute. Ted was now crying and pleading with God for forgiveness, but to no avail. After that, she let go of his right arm, leaving it by his side to hang limp and useless. She picked him up and dug her nails deep into his buns. As he carried him into her room, Ted's feet barely touched the ground. She let him go. She then picked a bra and her underwear from her dresser, putting in on him. As he trembled, she could tell that his anger had given way to icy fear. She then put him in a sundress that was visibly orange and yellow. "Okay, weak boy, here are your instructions for the day. I got 1 coat of polish on your nails. You will bring that to 9 coats of color and 2 coats of clear. I think you can remember that. We are having a fashion show tonight at the store, and I told them you will be glad to do some modeling for them, so you had better look sharp. Monica will be here to get you about 4. If you want to go out before then, fine." He was horrified as he peered in the mirror. He resembled a girl almost exactly. It was agonizing to consider parading in front of a group of women in this attire. Kathy flexed her biceps in front of Ted and said, then Kathy departed, finding it amusing that her brother was so confused. He was paying a high price because she had used his rage to her advantage. Even worse things were in store for John. John arrived at the store around noon. He had heard from Kathy that a woman was considering purchasing his Corvette and was prepared to pay top dollar for it. At noon, he was supposed to meet the woman there. John was considering putting his Corvette up for sale. He had bought it when he was earning a lot of money in construction, but he now needed the money for school. John started to leave when the woman failed to appear. Sharon and I both remember her saying she would return at noon, so I guess she just forgot or something. That's right, I'm positive it was noon, John said. Sharon gave John a hug and said, Hey, wavy curls looks great on you. John made a move for the door. Carolyn Langston yelled as she turned to face John. She approached him and pulled out a gold brooch from his pocket while reaching into his, saying, You, mister, stop right there. She brought it up to him. What? Someone must have put that there. Do you have a receipt for this brooch? She said. What exactly would I be using it for? Should I contact mall security? No, I have a better idea. Let's call the police, she replied. This way to my office. Carolyn directed him inside, where she made him stand in front of her desk before inviting Sharon in. Sharon, do you know this man? Well, John is Kathy's brother, yes. Everything makes sense. While they were conversing, she slipped to him. I'll let you know what I plan to do. We're having a fashion show tonight, and I need models. I'll forget about this whole thing if you can model formal wear for me tonight. If not, it's a serious matter. The item is worth over $300, and the police would need to be notified. Okay, I'll do it. I've done this previously. The place where we rented the tuxes gave them to us for free if we posed for some photos when my friend got married. Carolyn grinned at Sharon and said, I know what to do. Take him to Debbie's office and she'll make sure he's ready. We have a lot of work to do before the show at 5, so Sharon escorted John to Debbie's office, where she sat him down after introducing him to Debbie. Okay, John, let's see what we can do with you by showtime. I am currently focusing on her. In about an hour, practice on the runway. Since you've never done that before, you'll need that. When we start your preparation at 4:30, you'll be ready by 5:30. She picked up the phone and said, Alice, Debbie, could you come into my office? I can call my team in here now and have a look at you. A short while later, Alice arrived. She looked at John right away and walked over to him. Debbie pointed to John, and Alice held his face in her hands and nodded. Okay, I don't see any problems. Tonight's lighting will be intense, so I'll use some theatrical makeup and play with the hair. However, that is the current trend among guys. The good thing about them is that they can hold their style. Would you kindly send Marlene in? Debbie retorted. But I'm afraid we'll need foundation work. Foundation work? Which is that? John questioned. You'll see. When Marlene showed up, John was taken aback by her size and short haircut. She was very curt when she told John to stand up and grunted in a German accent. I can get the waist down with the metal-lined clincher, and the upper part I can work with. I don't see a problem here, she said, giggling menacingly. Perhaps a little help on top just before the show. Okay, we're down to the clothes, but I see you can work your miracles. His clothes for tonight were brought in by the wardrobe staff that Marlene sent. There were no fewer than 5 formal dresses, which looked like wedding gowns to John. He was amused when 3 girls entered carrying them. The 3 girls began to giggle, and Debbie looked at John and said, almost laughing herself, John, we don't have a men's department. No tuxedos are available to model. What you are going to wear at 5 o'clock is what you see in front of you. You had better accept this if you don't want to spend the next 5 years sleeping in jail. Don't worry, you'll pass for a female model when we're done. She stood up, flaunted her designer slacks, and teased John. Only one of us is going to be wearing pants at 5 o'clock, and it is not going to be me. And one more thing, your name is now Joni with an I. John sat there in shock. He knew he was doomed. His blood started to run cold. He already started to feel humiliated, and nothing had been done to him yet. For the next 4 hours, his world was going to be pure hell. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.